Okay, so I got most of the computer apart so far. Here is the 960. You see, it's pretty dirty. This side doesn't look too bad. This was a rear exhaust fan. Here is this says it's a Wi-Fi 6. This is a little doodad that he has an M.2 in it. I haven't done too much with it. I did erase both drives that were in there, the 68 gig SATA SSD, and then this I don't know if this is NVMe or not. I didn't pay attention to it too much, but it is a 256 gig Samsung. It's not one of the higher end, but I deleted, both drives, and Windows seen this drive and installed it, but that motherboard won't allow to boot from here. And then I was noticing this. I didn't even pay attention to it when I did the first part of the video, right? I was like, this got some weight to it, so I opened it because it has one screw in it. But that's all it is. This is as you can see here, M-SATA to SATA adapter inside of a caddy thing. So this is pretty interesting. I don't know the right speeds or nothing of it yet, but it seems halfway decent. Here is the little hub that I was having on it. So it had this hooked in, and then everything hooked into here. All the fans were hooked into this. You can see it just has one PWM connector, and then it says fan, CPU, fan 1, fan 2, fan 3, fan 4. Okay, we'll walk over here. Oh, you see this build. So we'll walk over here. Here is a power supply. You can see how that is. Here's the fans. Seems like they're coming in decent because it's white. This is probably the worst one here. Here's a case air. This fan sounded pretty bad. It has red RGB. You come up to the case up here. See more of this big hairball thing, dust ball there. Here's where the fans was. Here where the power supply was. Here's a exhaust. And here's these two. You can't really tell. I still have the two front ones in. They're probably pretty dirty too. But I wanted to give an update on there. More dust here. So you have everything unattached from the board. And you can see, let's try to angle this just right. So you can see that in there is pretty dirty. Yeah. So it's pretty dirty inside here too. Them are like, see that? Yeah. Okay, so I just want to do that quick update. I'm going to finish tearing this apart. The next part will be basically everything back into this case, but cleaned up. And then I have to look into seeing if I can actually go in the BIOS and change some settings in it to get it to run off that M.2. Everything else seems to be pretty decent, Like I said, it's an i7 3770K, 32 gigs of RAM. Okay, next part you will be seeing right probably now is it all back together nice and clean. So okay, this is a 120. This is 140. I was gonna put this in the front. I thought you could put a 140 in the front. You just could do one, not two, but it's just two 120 mils. And I decided not to put them three other up here fans in it because these should do perfectly fine. These two fans right here, they're moving a good amount of air and they're quiet. There's no filters in it. I am gonna do a filter for the bottom here, so you can see here. I'll put this flashlight on it. You can see, like, try to get it where you can actually see this. But yeah, I took the power supply apart, cleaned it out, fully cleaned the case. So there was whatever it was, case air fan that was on the bottom here that had red LEDs that didn't sound very good, healthy. I'll say that. So I took that out. So first thing I tried, I haven't done any more. So when I went to install, I actually deleted the drive, so that there's the 68 gig SSDs up here. I wiped that drive, wiped this drive, make sure nothing was on it, and that actually showed up when I installed Windows. I installed Windows to it, but this system won't boot from this device. So that's the M.2. I think it might be just the regular M.2 SATA drive. I don't know if it's NVMe. And then you can see there's a 32 gigs of RAM. You can actually see now, you can actually see the cooler in there, right? And the fan's clean. So this whole case has been cleaned out. Here is, here's a side panel. So the front turned out pretty good. The whole system turned out actually pretty good. Yeah. So this has been running for a while. I ran a whole test of Unigen Heaven, and it's still going. I don't know how many more minutes. So this is on low settings. You can see 1920 by 1080, so it's 1080p low. And there's a score. Got FPS was 163.1. Score was 4,108, and you can see all the specs shown up here too. i7 3770K. There's a gigahertz. It doesn't even show. I don't think it shows how much RAM you have. And there is the GTX 980, and it is a 2 gig model. And here's the temperature, right? I don't know if you can see that, but it said 64. You can see obviously all the clock speeds and the FPS up there on the top. So just come back down here again, show you what the system looks like. I'll tab out of here. So I thought I had Task Manager, but I don't. So Task Manager. So you can see again, i7 3770K, 32 gigs of RAM. It is running at 1333. I don't know what this RAM speed is, so I haven't messed with that in the BIOS yet. And there is this 68 gigs of RAM, or maybe it's a 64 gig. I'm not, yeah, I think it's 68. Yeah, it's supposed to be 68, right? Yeah. And then here's other drive actually showing up, which is kind of weird. And then, this is the external Wi-Fi. I haven't done any drivers yet. I did the drivers for the video card, and that's it. I haven't done anything else. No major updates or nothing. And then you can see there is the video card. Now it does, now you see I go into Disk Manager, and it will show up there. I just haven't, allocated it. I haven't done nothing with it since I completely cleaned the drive. But there's the system's on that little SATA to SATA adapter thing in there. So yeah, the system is running. It's really clean. Like, I still need to check and see if I have extra cables for this power supply, because it only came with the SATA cable and one cable for, it has, it's daisy chained off, so it has two 6+2 pin connectors on it. And this is supposed to be it's an old Thermaltake power supply. It's 850 watts, 80 plus bronze. So yeah, so it seems like it's running. And one other thing I had to do was I had to, I noticed Windows wasn't activated, and they had Windows 10 Enterprise. Oh yeah, did it have Enterprise? Well, yeah, I think it had Enterprise on it, so it wasn't activated. So I went ahead, when I wiped the drive, I was just assuming this probably had home on it, Windows probably 10 home or maybe 7, whatever, but it should have Windows 10 home on it. So I was like, the worst that happens, I just have to, you know, install Windows Home, connect it online, you know, and then Windows will tell me either it's, you know, activated or not activated. Then I'll go ahead, you know, reinstall Windows 10 Pro on it and see if that works. I knew it had home on it, so I tried home first, because that's what most people do. They just put home on it, and if this was a pre-built computer from like iBuyPower or something like that, most of the time they just go with home edition anyways instead of Pro. Pro has a lot more features that most people need, you know, and some people don't need. I'd rather have it than need it. You know, if I have it and don't need it, that's cool. But if I don't have it then need it, then that's, you know, then you have to upgrade to get them features. But yeah, I'm stoked. You know, I got some good time in pulling this whole thing apart, so I basically took it all apart and put it all back together. You know, basically it's fully refurbished. I still need to figure out how to get, if this motherboard would actually let me, you know, what is this? Let me boot off this drive. It did let me install Windows on this drive, but then it wouldn't boot off this drive. So I got to figure out if I can get this to boot, and then I won't leave this, you know, 68 gig SSD. I'll keep this for my test drive. You know. So when I just need a drive to pop in a computer to see if it's working or not, I can use that one, and then this one will have a Samsung, you know, 250 gig, you know, SSD in it, using that adapter. Or I got another computer coming Monday, and it's Sunday now. I think that's supposed to have a 1 terabyte drive. If I can't get this to work in this system, maybe I could get it to work in another system, and I'll put the 1 terabyte hard drive in this system and leave the SSD as a boot drive, and then put the 1 terabyte drive in here for extra storage. But you know, what I'm probably going to do with this, I'm going to pull the card. I'm going to probably use this video card for the system that's coming tomorrow. I'm not for sure if that system works or not, but you know, if it works, I'm going to put this video card in it, and probably this drive too, and get it working in there. Even if I got this to work in this system and boot off of it, I'm still gonna probably end up putting it in the other system. Yeah, I was planning on selling this. I had a couple people lined up that needed a system that they already had a video card and they already have an SSD. You know, I'm waiting for some of them to reply. I probably sent messages off to about 5 people. You know, and I told them, you know, you know, whatever line they're in, you know, they're number 3. If the 2 people in front of them doesn't want it, then they can have it. Just let me know if they're interested, because then all they have to do is, you know, drop their computer off, and I can swap over their video card to this one and their SSD over this system, and then they'll be good. You know, like the first person I messaged was the guy that I just, you know, cloned his drive off of with that HP computer, because he was wanting to do 32 gigs of RAM in that system, but you need ECC memory to go with 32 gig, otherwise it only supports 16. So I was thinking, oh well, he has a really nice video card. He ended up buying a new video card for it. I think he went with a 3050, and he was saying he was going to order two 8 gig sticks to just do 16 instead of buying the ECC memory. That's why I was like, hey, this system would be perfect for him. We'll put his video card in it and his 1 terabyte hard drive in here. It should boot. His has Windows 10 Home on it, so it should boot. Just to, you know, do some drivers, and that's it. And he should be good to go. Have Wi-Fi. You know, yeah, you would have Wi-Fi, his 1 terabyte hard drive at 850 watt power supply instead of the OEM, and then it'd be an upgrade from him from going from the i7 2600 non-K You know, right now he just has 8 gigs of RAM in it, so he would end up with 32 gigs of RAM and a CPU that's just a little bit newer, because this is a 3770K. And, you know, definitely would have performed a little bit faster than his other one, especially since he wanted 32 gigs of RAM. He you know, he'd get all that marks, but he's like, he's happy with his system now. So that didn't work out. So I got four other people, you know, that had older system that they put basically way better video cards in it than the system needed. You know, like some of them, I think one dude has an i5 2400, and another dude has like I think an i3 2120. You know, like so yeah, I'm just gonna call it at this. You can see the system's, you know, fully cleaned. Not gonna put them up here, fans in here, because these should be perfectly fine. You know, less noise, and plus I didn't want to use that little breaker thing, that little, you know, splitter that said CPU fan 1 and 2, because this thing was getting it was giving me a CPU fan error every time with that hub in it. And this fan's directly hooked into CPU fan. It does have an optional CPU fan header too, but hooked into the CPU fan header, I'm not getting an error. And obviously I pulled this off, you can see it, and so it's got new thermal paste. The only thing I haven't really done was I just did a basic cleaning of the video card. You know, got the dust out of the heat sink and off the back of the motherboard, and where I could get it from the top with my little anti-static little brush thing, because I wanted to make sure and test it before I pull the card apart, because you never know, card could be working and then I take it apart and I could damage it somehow. Want to make sure that it works. But you know, I gave the guy $100 for the system. I actually messaged him instead of somebody else, because I had a friend, you know, wanting to stop by and borrow $100, because he was actually going to go pick up this Ford F-150, like an '89 Ford F-150, and he was just shy $100. So I was gonna, well, he's like, I think it was like 80. He was like shy like $80. So I pulled out 100, and I sent him in. I was like, hey, I pulled out $100, but when I went to click to message him, I guess Facebook sent me the auto message for this computer to see if I was interested still. So I ended up sending that message to this guy, not paying attention, like, oh, all I could pull out was $100 out of the bank. And then he messages back, he's like, do you have an external hard drive, Caddy? It says like, well, I have an old one. You know, I got it from my old apartment in my storage container that I had to clean out from. I'm assuming it came from MediaCom, because there's like MediaCom equipment there that was garbage from the old tenant, right? Because the landlord just threw all their crap in the bottom, and it was sitting there for about a year. So the hard drive didn't work in it, so I just pulled the hard drive out and I left it out. That's what I used to use all the time instead of my little new, you know, external hard drive Caddy deal that just sits by itself. I use that to clone drives, or to back up drives, or put, you know, to put any kind of hard, basically, for I wouldn't have to install a hard drive into a system. I use that. So I traded him that. I had the whole thing, but the hard drive, the connectors, it even came with a PCIe adapter card, because it also could run eSATA, and the eSATA made it really fast. You can basically get, like, if you hooked an SSD to it, it would run. It wouldn't run if the SSD in the normal system ran like 500 for reads and writes. It got like 300 out of that little adapter thing. But that was pretty good. So I traded him that, and I gave him $100, and I got the computer. I was kind of like, oh, it's not bad. I think it's a pretty good deal, because everything in here works. This is a Wi-Fi 6 card right here. It's just like a regular PCI card, kind of like what is it? What's, you know, that one right there that goes onto the motherboard, but it's on this PCIe adapter piece. And then obviously this adapter here for an NVMe. You know, SSDs are kind of going back up now, so if I was gonna buy a 250 gig and it's a Samsung, so that probably cost me maybe $20 right there. And this is probably these adapters are like 10 without the Wi-Fi cards. There's $30-$40 maybe right here. Leave that in the comments. What do you think? What do you think this system is worth as it sets, and what it's worth without the video card in it, because it has onboard graphics. So yeah, leave that in the comment below. You know, what do you think this system's worth? Did I get a good deal? Because everything seems to work perfectly fine on it. You know, there's no weird noises out of it. The fans all seem to be good. The power supply seems to be good. I did open it up. Everything inside was good, so I fully cleaned it out. Yeah, just let me know what you think about this system. It is an NZXT case. It's an older case, no DVD-ROM or nothing on it. You could put one in it, but I'm satisfied with, you know, with the $100 purchase. You know, I bought it intentionally for this video card and the M.2 and possibly this power supply, because I could swap this power supply out. And yeah, I could put this 350 watt power supply in here with the GTX 460. So I could put my NVIDIA 460 in here, so 1 gig video card and that 350 watt power supply. Then leave this SSD in here and then just resell this off. So yeah, what do you think? What do you think this thing's worth now? You know, case is really nice. Cases are kind of expensive now. You know, power supplies are expensive. Yeah, it's an older system, but this will still do some pretty good gaming on it. It's not going to do no 4K. You know, it's a good 1080p machine. You know, newer games, yeah, this 2 gigs of VRAM will struggle. You know, some games might not even open due to the CPU, maybe. You know, because it doesn't have the architecture or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's gonna call it. I think it's a pretty good deal. And thank you for watching.